What is going on, guys? It is Trifecta J here with episode 13 of my Angels franchise, and today we'll be starting off looking at some of the retirement players. This will be the offseason. We had a couple of players retire, including Tim Lincecum and a couple of minor leaguers. Johnny Hatfield, one guy I was actually pretty excited for, did end up retiring, but the Cubs ended their World Series drought. Just wanted to show you quickly, we had three players that we traded them. Hector Santiago was their number 3 starter. Joe Smith was their number 1 setup man, and he pitched very well 2 years for the Cubs. And then Chris Iannetta was the backup catcher, who played pretty well, 7 home runs, 36 RBIs. We got 3 pretty good prospects for those guys. So now looking at all the signings we made, I didn't really show it. It's just a ton of players. And now I look at the rest of the list. We released a good number of players, a lot of older players who weren't going to really contribute anymore, and I didn't really want to bring back. Now look at the free agent list. You can see some pretty talented players: Jake McGee, Kendry Morales, Jose Bautista. Looking at some of the international prospects who were looking to sign: Emilio Reyes. He's 19 years old, has some nice raw power, along with Hitoki Mayada. He's 6'3" from Japan, has some nice potential, only 19, and has some nice contact numbers. Then Lamar Worth, only 19, 6'3" from the Netherlands, can play a variety of different positions, really far away from the majors though. And now looking at some more major league ready talent, we have Marco Estrada. We're looking to offer a 2-year deal, I believe 2 years for $9 million total with a player option. He would fill in that 5th starter or whatever starter spot, as we need a veteran guy, after you'll see in a little bit why. So you can see Jake McGee does sign with the Rangers. Josh Tomlin, another guy I was definitely looking at, did not end up offering him anything. And we get the 3 international prospects. Tyson Ross ends up going to the San Francisco Giants. He pitched all right last year, not great. He signs a 4-year deal. Jose Altuve will leave the Houston Astros and signs with Pittsburgh for a 7-year, $183 million deal. Cargo will go to the Kansas City Royals. Now a look at Marco Estrada. He's pitched pretty well these last 3 years, so he would be a nice guy to get. And we would end up getting him on a 9-year deal, or a $9 million deal, I should say, for $2 million, or for 2 years. And Archie Bradley, we're looking to trade for him. He is 25 years old. He struggled so far in his major league career. Also getting Andrew Chafin, a good setup guy, a lefty, one of the best left-handed relievers in all of baseball. He could be a very nice piece for us. Only 27 years old, also with 4 years left of team control. And we would end up doing that deal for Anderson Simmons. Martin Prado, another guy we're looking at to fill in third base, which last year was Caleb Cowart, who hasn't really played all that well. He ends up signing the 1-year deal for $3.5 million. So then the next thing we'll be looking to do is we go through the Rule 5 draft. No one I was really interested in. There was Frankie Montas, who I was actually looking at pretty hard, but I didn't really have a place for him on the Major League roster. And now our next trade would be Javier Baez. He is also 25, 4 years of team control, as well as Archie Bradley. That's what he has also. He is an A potential. Hasn't really played very much, actually, in terms of just playing time for the Cubs, and has not performed very well. But I feel like buying right now, we're buying low, and he could definitely turn into a nice player. For him, we're trading Art Cornell, Garrett Richards, and one more player, Devin Williams, I believe it was, or Jose Martinez, I can't remember. And look at the arbitration meetings. As you can see, a lot of guys goes either way. And this will be the end of the offseason. We're coming up towards the end of it, as not much left. You can see we are looking at some hitting coaches and our pitching coach and farm director, I believe is what it was. Damian McLaughlin and Charles Hernandez are the guys we're going for. I like their pluses they have. Wasn't a whole ton of major negatives. And then the final deal, Nick Tropiano, Jim Bell for Mike Nikorak, I believe is how you'd say it. He's a 6'5", righty, 21 years old, nice potential from New Jersey. He was a first-round pick, I believe, a couple of years ago out of high school. I believe that's a good trade. Gives us another good prospect. And to fill the hole left by Tropiano, we will sign Josh Tomlin to a 1-year, I think it ends up being like a $5 million deal, which is a pretty solid deal. And to end off today's episode, we're going to be looking at our roster, how it stands now, and my plans moving forward with this roster.
So now looking at our roster, you can see the top of the roster, we have 2 very good guys, 2 of the best guys in all of the majors, and they're really the only 2 guys in this entire team that I see is truly untouchable, that I think there's absolutely no way that under any circumstances that I would ever trade them. So now we look at the starting pitchers. There is Andrew Heaney, I feel like could be a very good number 2 or number 3 starter for us in the future. Archie Bradley, who based this potential and everything, could potentially develop into our number 1 ace, and that's sort of the goal. And the reason I acquired him was for him to be our future ace. Now, whether he can actually reach that potential is unknown so far. Tyler Skaggs in a similar position to Andrew Heaney. He could be a number 2 or 3 star to be very good at it, or it could be a nice trade piece to bring in a good hitter or another solid pitcher. Looking down the roster, you have Marco Estrada and Josh Tomlin, who are not long for this team. Either they will be here for one season or they might be traded at the trade deadline, depending on where we stand in terms of record. Nate Smith, he is a young guy. I'm not sure whether he fits better in terms of a bullpen, like long reliever type guy, or as a number 5 starter. I feel like he's a nice player. He can also be a very good trade piece, as he has a pretty high potential. Then you have a multitude of a bunch of prospects who just depends on how they end up turning out, and that depends on how we fill out the rest of our rotation. Relief pitchers, you have Corey Nebel, who I don't really see him as a closer long term. I see him as an elite setup guy for us, and they'll have to go out and find that closer. Andrew Chafin, he could be a very, very good left-handed setup guy and really shut down right-handed batters. Then you have Mike Moore, Shea Simmons, Jose Alvarez, and a ton of young guys who it's another situation along with our starting pitchers. It just depends on who can develop and who performs the best, as that will determine who is in our bullpen moving forward and also what guys we are able to acquire. So catcher, I don't really see Carlos Perez or Jeff Bandy as the future of this position for us. Only guy on our roster right now who I see as a potential guy is Chase Follett. He has some nice raw power, 6 foot, only 21 years old. And also Pedro Morales. He's very far away, does have nice potential. He's 6'5", only 20 years old, but just so far away from the majors. I don't know if we'll see him anytime soon. First base, definitely a position of need that we're going to have to upgrade unless CJ Cron can really show us something. He hasn't really done that so far. He had 211 last year and 239 the year before. He's 6'4", 28 years old, so he's getting up there in age. He does still have 3 years of team control left, though, and could show to be a very nice hitter for us. Second base, of course, the future of this position is definitely Eli Wendell. He's either going to be a future second baseman or third baseman for us, depending on how the rest of this roster does shake out. I don't really see Ray Navarro as the future of this position at all. He's probably a guy that we'll look to trade as Eli Wendell gets closer to making the majors. Then third base, you have Martin Prado, who's basically just a stopgap guy. Hopefully Caleb Cowart can play better this year. He's hit 242, 233, and 174 so far in his career, so has not played a whole ton due to injuries and just his actual performance. Vladimir Guerrero, Kyle Rogers, a guy I'm very excited about. He's already 21, but you look at those contact numbers, he's got to improve his fielding ratings, and he already has a very high potential in the game. It's a 99 potential. He could also be a second baseman or shortstop, depending on how he shapes up in the rest of the roster sort of plays out. Then you have Luis Bautista, who could be a nice player at first base or third base, 6'5". He's a left-handed batter, has some nice raw power. And then Austin Riley and Brian Hayes are pretty far away from the majors. Javier Baez, to me, is the future of our position at either second, short, or third. I don't see him as a center fielder moving forward. So then you have also Kevin Maiden. He's pretty far away from the majors still. He's only 19 years old, so he still has a good ways to go. He could also play third base. Then in the outfield, Adrian Marquez, Mike Trout, and Gregory Polanco, to me, are the future of this outfield. None of them above 26. Marquez, only 20 years old. He developed very nicely last year. He's a switch-handed. He's a left fielder, center fielder, or right fielder, depending. He's got to get better in terms of his fielding, but I feel like he could be a very nice piece for us. He looks to be a very good hitter who will continue to develop. And then a couple of, not a whole ton of prospects. In terms of a leadoff guy moving forward, the only guy who really comes to my mind is Elvis Knight. He's very fast and has some nice base stealing ability. You don't really need that in a leadoff guy. You're really just looking for on base, and then that's a plus. But I feel like he has that potential to be a very good on base guy. Only problem is I don't really know where he would play because you have Mike Trout in center, Polanco in right, and Marquez in left field. So he might be a DH, or you could try him, I guess, in the infield somewhere. I'm not really sure unless one of these guys does get moved, which I just don't see happening. But that's basically the roster as it stands right now. You can sort of see where it stands for this year and moving forward and how I feel the rest of this roster will stand up. There are definitely still some big holes that we need to fill, but I feel like in terms of guys that are Major League ready and have very nice potential and will be on this team in a couple of years, I really like where we stand now, much better than it was when I first took over this team. But that's pretty much it. The next episode will be spring training, and the first episode of the season will be the actual game. So that will be whatever who will pitch, probably Andrew Heaney. Might actually be Archie Bradley, get our first look at him. But I hope you did enjoy today's video. It was a look at the offseason and our roster moving forward. If you did, please leave a like down below. I will see you for episode 14, which will be coming up in a little bit, because I'm out.